I start with blue color. But the only difference between working with palette knife and brush is we need more paint to have, because we need to take some more paint to make a texture. Not for sky, because for sky I prefer to have really smooth. As I mentioned, I prefer to show it's on depth and it's further, not really in front of me. Because of that, it's fine if you use it flat, but not like brush. It's a little bit need more. So let me put this aside. No, first of all, with just one brush, I divide the space, and then I will let you know how you can work with palette knife. Just take some blue color, less space if you, if you would like to know, less space here for the sky and more here. So I cut my surface less here for the sky, more here, and just randomly add the line. It's okay, because you can bring it down a little bit, bring it up. It depends on the shape of our leaves on or the grass on this sense. This is the sky part, all this section for the sky. And for landscape, the bushes are has a pressure. It's like some zigzaggy shape on here, and more space is for my field. So I choose here and here, like a zigzaggy shape. And then reach here like that. Working with palette knife, it's so interesting and it's so easy. If you know how to work with it, it's so enjoyable. So I start with the sky part. Similar brushes, this part of the palette knife, it's so similar brushes. This is whole palette knife, and this is tip of the palette knife. These two side is side of our palette knife. If we take our paint from one side, you can put your palette knife there and then push on your surface. It depends. I take my paint from this side like that. So I put my palette knife on the paint like this, and I try to take my paint, not with whole the part, half of it. It's more easier. And then you see it's more part of my paint, it's from one side. And I put it on my surface and lay down, then try to move it on my panel or surface. If you add more pressure, you see I can add more pressure to have softer surface, or I can put it and leave it. Put and leave it like that. Make a texture. You see here, you can make a texture with this by adding your palette knife on your sky, and then leave it like that. Or 1 or 2 times really smooth, you can cover it and make it so soft. these bushes that on this stance. These bushes, if you see its color, it's so colorful. On the bottom part in general, it's so darker. Everywhere, it's so darker. And it mix up of dark green color, light green color, yellow ochre. It's a little bit dark yellow here. And then the reddish color. So we need actually, and take some black, very less tip of my black. I add into my red and make it a little bit dull. And then I mix my green with black to make darker green. This green, I mix with a little bit black. Black should be less because can change the value so immediately. And then you can check you are happy with the darkness or not, then you can add a little bit more or less. In the model, if you see, it's like they're straight like that. The way that they lay down, it's like this shape of brush stroke or palette knife stroke, like this way. So I try to follow the same. And it's more easier to go with longer one. It's like this one, but if you don't have it, this one is good as well. So I go with both. First of all, I go with the darker tone. I take some. From this way, put my palette knife, I go to the top. It's better to be straight, so I move it like that. Like this. And I want to make it layer by layer, so heavy. So if you want to have heavy texture, it's better not to add pressure. If you work with something like this, I will do like this with this one, like that. But I prefer to do it with the other lighter tone or this way, maybe. With whole palette knife, take your paint and then move it like this toward the center. But I go with this, just the one, move it like that from an angle. You see, I try to show different way that you can have and you can work with your palette knife. From a side, from whole palette knife, it just need to be comfortable with it. And we use heavy paint, so it takes really time to get dry. It gives us a chance to bring another paint like the light green color on top from the other way. And we can bring the other colors on top, even if they mix together, give us very nice result like that. So I bring my darker red on top, and then the yellowy color, it's yellow ochre. When they mix together, it gives us a little bit yellowy orangey. But because of the black that we have into those, it's a little bit darker and dull, actually. So I take my this time I prefer to go with this shape of my palette knife because a little bit different. We can use, actually, I don't say, actually I mentioned that I finished my painting with just one shape, but it's fine. You see here, this is a little bit bigger, and this is a little pointier, the tip. For this one, I would like to use this one, a little bit pointy. And I take my dull red with this, with the tip, and then lay down my palette knife here. Try to bring it into my green. And I try to go up and down, not all in the same level. I try to make a little bit longer for this. Even I go to sky part, it's fine. Bring it down. And please not cut just the red on top and the green on the bottom. You can bring it down a little bit like that. Not everywhere, just somewhere would be nice to play with your colors, move into each other. And when I take it from an angle, you see here, there's a nice texture you can make. It's shiny red, mixed with the green, change a little bit the value, and it's darker one. Actually, the darker one, you can use it as a reddish brown, because reddish brown is burnt sienna. If we don't have it, we can mix our red with black and make it something similar, reddish brown. For next part, again, we will need to add just a little bit black, because again, our yellow ochre is so shiny. I want to be just a bit dull. So I take my yellow ochre here, very, very less this time, like that, very less black I add in it. I want to make it a little bit tone. And I go with the same palette knife that I go with red color. And let me show you for the yellow one here. See here, it's a little bit yellow in between all these red and green color we have to make it more like beautiful fall. So I take my paint with this side, and then still my red is wet, so I can move on it in between and let it mix with the red and even green color. I don't want to separate my yellow with the others, because it's better to work on it and make it a little mix with those. You see here, it's really disappear into my green. Even if your green is dry, you can add another green on top like that. Let me move on, like zigzaggy shape like this. If I need green, I can add a little bit more on it and make some details a little. Not everywhere. I don't want to have yellow everywhere, just somewhere, and then we can say it's enough. We don't need to add more. But I don't want to see this shiny color. Even if it's shiny, take some green and try to disappear the yellow ochre into that green. Then even we can move on a little bit red if we need to bring it and help those mix together. It's so lovely when lots of color like this mix into each other. And then let it dry. Before letting dry the yellow one, because of the blue color of sky, I don't want to let it actually separate from my landscape. I would like to have a balance everywhere. So I have blue color, just a little bit, take some blue, randomly add somewhere like that. Just randomly add somewhere. It's better to mix with, actually, not let it like that. You see here, I bring the other color into that. Try to mix it. And that's helpful to let your sky not disappear, not cut from your landscape, and the balance is visible. Like here, I had some texture of blue even in the field. Here I have just some palette knife stroke. And I have a little lighter green here. I feel happy with it. I don't like this darkness. So this time it's a little bit changed. I want to use this palette knife because of the shape that we can easily move like that. But as I mentioned, we can use just one palette knife, like the one that I show you, it's popular. This one, and then the same way. I want to make something similar, the shape of the field. So the way is like this, the texture make like that. And here a little bit darker under these trees, I would like to make it dark, and here as well. So same as before, I prefer to start with the darker tone, and then layer by layer, we can add the light tone on top. It's much more easier. I start to adding this way, like that, a little bit darker tone, go one back. To mention about the darkness, the place of darkness should be a little here. I go with the dark green color this way. And first layer, I don't need to be really heavy. That's fine if you add a pressure and help it disappear like that. That's fine because it's a first layer. And then we need a little bit darker tone on this side, and this is with the red and black color. Here is more warm tone. I bring it like that, this way. I mix it with this two dark color, green and red. With longer stroke. And then under this part, we need a little bit darker tone as well. It can be darker green. Randomly I add, I don't want to bother myself exactly about the place. I just randomly add this warm color and green and black color all both together. Just randomly add. I keep some space, light between the bushes and the field, and then add this darkness. And I add the pressure in my hand, it's fine. For this one, I'm not worried about the texture. So I think this way it's more darker. You can add more dark color here. Even the warm color. Mix both together. Give me nice. After you did like that, with the darkness, so we mentioned about all the dark part that we need in our painting. Then one level lighter we need to go, and this is this brownie color. I mix my red with yellow ochre and a little bit dark green. So I'm sorry, the black, to make this like a brown, light brownie color, but it has a red inside. It's not exactly brownie. So you can use your palette knife like a long stroke like that and cover this. The reason that I go with this long palette knife is this one, because I want to go with longer stroke, even if you have the other one, this shape. You can go, again, make it long like that. At the same time, I would like to bring some lighter tone as well between my orange tone. You see, when I move, go and back, I try to let this orange tone sit on my light color. See, they mix together and give me light and dark color together. Less pressure, just move it like that. Even you can change your way and make some heavy movement like this. The other part is these trees on the stands, the dark one, the small dark one I see here, exactly on the back, and then the birch tree is on top. So randomly, I prefer to add those first, finish it, and then we will come to shape the birch trees. The other one is dark. So it's black actually, but I prefer to go with black and mix a little red into that to have a dark brown. Or even if you have dark brown, you can use that. And for this part, I prefer to go with brush, more comfortable. But it depends if you like to go. For birch trees, I will go with this side of our palette knife and make it like that. For this side, but for this tiny one, which is really small and narrow, you can do, but I prefer to go with brush. So I mix my black, more black with a tiny red. I just would like to work with the value, not really dark black. I prefer to have a little bit browny tone. So that's better. And then you can go with round pointy brush if you have, or flat brush, or even the side of your palette knife, this edges or any side of your palette knife, like this side, tiny line you can make. I will go with all of them to show you what happened. For example, if I want to go with palette knife, I take my paint from one side, like that, narrow line here, with one side of palette knife, narrow line, put it on my surface and very gently bring it a little bit here. It's a little not easy to go. It's for birch trees easy because it's a little bit thicker, the birch trees. Not this one. This one is so narrow. Because of that, I prefer to go with a brush, with my flat brush, because I don't want to have really thick surface. I take my pure white color like this from one side of my palette knife, and I can make it a little bit creamy, just a bit. It's better maybe, not the pure. Yeah. Let me see. Take some white, just a little bit yellow ochre, like that. Very, very less. Because I want to have a white color, and I want to have warm white color, actually, not cool color. And that yellow ochre helped me, my white color move toward warm. You see, it's a little bit warmer than this one, just a bit. These two. And then with longer palette knife, you can take some from one side and start from anywhere you like. I start this center. Put my palette knife here, move a little bit like that toward right. Move here toward right. Again, take some, put here, move it a little bit toward the right. Even if they still, the first colors, if sometimes happen, here you see the red color is still wet. So they can mix together, doesn't matter. Again, with heavy paint of white, we can come on top and fix it. Move like that. Like this. Try to make trunk tree. And already when I come down, you see it's the first, it's better to let everything dry and then add your trunk trees on top. And already the first color of landscape mix with the creamy color and give us a nice result. So we already need it for our trunk trees. And the other is with an angle. From here, start, move down. From here, I start again. Very gently, I try to touch my canvas, control my hand, but it has a texture and it's so lovely. I pass from here. The other trees is pass from here, comes down like that. With two hands, you can control it if it's just not comfortable with one. this tip of your palette knife, which is smaller, you can take some black and just one side of your trees. It's better to have this darkness to play with it like that. Bring it from one side to the center like this. And similar, these bushes, I take my palette knife in my hand like that. And then very gently, I add some dark color, not everywhere. It's like a broken line, just somewhere of your trees, and make it more interesting. Even it mix with your color, with the white color, and that's nice. Like that, and then happen like this. Very nice. We can make our birch trees.